So imagine you just took a job and one of your main things is to try to get everything in working order. And this is what you have. You have your IV arms, so the phlebotomy arms, completely disassembled. This is the start of what I found, or what I had to work with. So, first thing, my thought, let's just buy new arms, skins, and veins, right? The skins and the veins, and we can fix this problem. No big deal. Thankfully, my vendor came and looked at my arms and helped me realize something. So note, we have a right and a left arm. So depending on the vein arms that you have, make sure to look at them all, because I needed to actually order both right-sided skins and left-sided skins to match my arms that I had. Now, he also came and showed me a couple tricks on how to get these veins back in the arms easily and nicely and get the skins back on them. So I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to video this so that you can see how well that works. See, we labeled a couple of them, so we do have that on a PowerPoint. So these ones are in particular are Gaumard arms. However, I do think that this particular technique could work on any of the arms you have if you are in the same situation where you don't have the veins currently in, so you don't know where everything goes, or in this case, these veins are all one continuous vein that has to go in and out, in and out, in and out from these arms. So we're going to switch over to that. First thing I'm going to show you is a couple tools that he left for me and that I've collected that have helped in this process. One, bunches of hemostats, both big and small. Screwdriver in case you need to unscrew anything. The insides of the ET tubes make great fishing wires. Sometimes you gotta fish them out. The other thing that you wouldn't always think about is it's about a 10-foot long piece of electrical wire, and this electrical wire actually fits the end of the vein. So if you look, the internal diameter of the vein is about the same size as the electrical wire. This wire is what we're going to use to actually feed through the arm, and then we will attach the vein to pull it through. So that's important, and this has made a huge difference in the ease of getting this very flexible vein inside this arm. Another thing that we have is the hair dryer to make the wrist area of the arm skin a little more malleable. And then this little spray bottle, it has water and some Dawn dish soap in it, and we're going to use this on the outside of the arm skin, not the inside of the vein arm, so that we're going to keep the inside nice and dry so things don't grow. So first things first is you got to start with, and we have our little guide here off to the side, this wire, put a one end of it, put a little knot so you can't pull it through. There is a hole in the back of the arm, and that's what you need to get to first. Now, if you have a color of wire that's a little brighter or cleaner than, so you can see in the dark part of the arm, it makes it a little nicer. I'm just going to bend this up a little because I've got to get this through here, and then the goal is to feed it through to that first spot. Now this can take a little bit of time. And a little bit of wiggle. And this is usually the longest portion of everything. Now there's a big screw in there as well. So as you can see, I've kind of pulled this up. So we're going to become surgeons. Oh. This first one can be the hardest. Sometimes it's easier to, if you're picking it up and using gravity to help you. I'm trying to keep this on the table so you guys can see what I'm doing here. So in that time, I actually just used it as a guide, and I had the end bent so you could pull that through. But now you can pull this through. Watch your end there. Then you go down to 2, which is at the wrist. And then at the wrist here, we have another hole. So you can push through to that one. So it goes through the hand. So and again, this is sometimes the longest part, is the actual threading of this through. 4 is going to be up here, and then it's actually going to come out the back end. To 5, which is in the wrist again. So in here, these ones I like to push and pull, because this wire is a little rigid, which is what's helping you get the wire back and forth between all of the different holes. Whereas the veins are not rigid. So that would be very difficult to do with just the vein itself. So then 5 comes up here to 6, which is at the bend. And if you don't have this part, it's okay. It's gonna be one of those that you're gonna kind of go back and forth, figure out your vein. Now I have my little guide. I've done a few of these now, so I can almost do it without that, but you know. So now we're gonna go from the wrist all the way back to the hand. So we gotta flip this over and come back to the hand. Now you can turn your wire a little bit, help guide that through. So sometimes you gotta grab it. Okay. So now I can pull that up. Then 7. So this is 7. 8 is gonna actually come over here. So it's a lot of crisscrossing back and forth. And the vein is really long too. So you just gotta play with it a little. We've got that one through. Now, we're gonna come back up here, and then the goal is to go back out that hole that you had at the end. Sometimes this works nice, and then other times you really need the gravity, and you gotta straighten out this end of it to really get it back up through here. So I'm gonna try to do it without gravity works. See if we can keep it on the table for you. There we go, I think. The in and out on the end is really sometimes the longest part. Sometimes I get it the first time, but other times it takes a minute. And I gotta look up in it. Tape is also your friend. So I was having a harder time getting this one back down and through. So I used one of my fishing lines to go from the back end. And no, guys, I know nursing humor. Don't go there. And this is just going to help me kind of guide this wire back in and out. So now we've got the wire through. And if I look at my arm, I've got all of my ends. Everyone's got a piece of wire, so that's where the vein will go. Now we're going to do this the backwards way. I'm going to take my vein, slip it over this wire, and because the size is about the same, see, it kind of creates a little bit of a slip thing. If you're a little nervous, you can always put a piece of tape here as well to hold that in place. The other thing you're going to want to do that I did not do the first time and totally had to redo my vein is the opposite end of your vein. I'm using a chest tube set of hemostats. Put a hemostat on it. That way you can't accidentally pull your vein all the way through. Now here's the fun part and the quick, easy part that wouldn't have been easy otherwise. Now I'm going to take, and that last one we went through, so you got to find that one. You're going to pull, and then the vein's coming through. And then we go to the end, and this is where I usually start to push and pull. So I pull on the one end and push the wire through the other. Pull this giant piece of tubing. Now you don't want the tubing to be really tight. You want to have a little slack in there. So, and this one is from the wrist all the way back here. So that push and pull makes this much nicer, quicker. As you can see, the actual putting of the vein in is gonna go much quicker than the actual putting in of the tube, of the wire. So once you got that in, it's nice and easy. Then we're gonna come back up here, and again, I'm gonna do that. Oops, sorry, I keep hitting my camera. Push and pull. And this one's right there, so pulling just works well. And now we're out to that last one. That's going to come back out the end here. Yay! So now that's all done. I can take off my tape from my vein and my wire. Push the vein off. If you pull it, it won't come off. This next part I'm going to actually take, and I'm going to use my Scotch tape. Make sure all of this is a little loose. I'm going to put just a little bit of tape just to hold it in, because the next part we're going to do is put the skin on, and I don't want to be fighting with trying to keep the veins in their tracks while I'm putting the skin on. And I'm just using Scotch tape because regular old tape, it's not going to get as sticky. That's going to be another thing when you're cleaning out the arms. You'll find sometimes when you take off the skins, there's a lot of powder depending on however it was placed prior. There may be a lot of sticky, like I found they were using our hospital tape, which is awesome, but it gets really sticky the longer it's in there. This doesn't stay sticky. So now those are all kind of set down. I'm going to also grab my little foam pieces that go into my arm, and my skin. And then we will show you the trick on how to skin this patient again. So remember, big thing, make sure that you have the right arm. So match it up, make sure they're gonna actually fit. The next thing we're actually gonna do is heat up this portion of the arm, because this is usually the hardest part. So it's gonna get loud for a second. Over both sides. Now I'm going to start that, and I'm also going to heat it up again here in a second, just a little bit, but that keeps it malleable. We're going to make a glove, essentially. We're going to make a little sleeve here. Now this is where normally you're going to hear people say put like stuff on the inside. Here, you're just going to need a little bit of water on the inside of this sleeve, just a little bit, and then we're spraying the soap on the outside of the skin, inside that little glove. So now we can make this all the way up. So when you want to open this, literally, we're going to take it all the way so the hand and everything is sticking out. So now we can see the big pieces of the knuckles. And then I like to do this guy again. And that was the fun. You gotta line up your knuckles. Make sure you've got a good grasp on your skin, your arm. And then we're just gonna really wiggle this guy around. This part is the hardest part. And then it starts to go on easy. Now, don't forget your little foam pieces. I've done that a few times and you gotta go back. Now you can see he's slipping on really nice. And wipe off the outsides. Maybe your fingers didn't quite get on there. Now that you've got it all dried off, you can just squish it on, and now we have a fully veined and skinned arm that we can hook up to our blood bags.